Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. This week's topic: do you feel broken? Do you struggle with your mental health? Are you finding it difficult to move forward due to how overwhelming your current situation or circumstances currently are? Keep moving forward. This is episode 193. Hey guys, welcome back. So for this week, it is a regular Real Talk Tuesday segment with a random topic. Due to haven't actually touched base recently within the past 2 weeks with my buddy Dave for the Raw Chat, and tried to reach out a couple times to my bros Rico and Barry last week for the Keeping It Real segment, but was not able to nail down a date for getting a call recorded for that segment. But me not wanting to have to go an extended amount of time without being able to get some content together for you guys, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I was thinking on it for a little bit. A lot of times with these random topics, I kind of sometimes it takes me a minute. I usually have to think for a while, and just kind of like I might be out here. Sometimes I can do it when I'm off, but a lot of times it ends up being motivated by a certain topic when I'm out here working. So it's a lot easier for me to go, okay, I'm going to talk about such and such. Throw the headset on. I got the phone in the mount. Bring up the recording app. Of course, I had to do a new subscription. I had to pay the monthly whatever on the recording app. Not too much. I did the monthly, instead of the yearly, but it's not too much. A couple bucks a month, but it's like $20 for the year. So, as always, anybody who wants to support the show and make things a little bit easier, feel free to go to blodgettshow.com/support. But so to kind of like as far as the inspiration for the topic for this week, when because I would love to have conversations every week with both Dave and the other truckers from the Raw Chat, and I'd love to have conversations with Barry and Rico for the Keeping It Real segment. But unfortunately, of course, life happens. Like my schedule might not align with their schedules, It was a little bit easier with actually with both of them technically. When I was doing the other shift, when I was coming in at 2 a.m. and getting back home by like noon, because usually like late morning, 5, 6, or whatever. Sometimes I would get a call from my buddy Dave, and he would have other truckers on the line already, and we'd easily get a couple hour call recorded. So that was pretty nice, you know. And with Rico and Barry, we usually were trying to do it like Saturdays or Sundays, like 8:30 their time. You know, and usually by that point I'm like maybe 2.5 hours away from Kansas City, coming back from Coffeyville, so it was really easy to do. But now with my new schedule, where I'm most nights, lately I've been doing some different stuff, a night here, a night there. Had one night last week, they sent me up to Des Moines. And then tonight, after doing my 34-hour break off, you know, having Sunday off pretty much, I'm on my way up to Norfolk, Nebraska. Which, hey, I'm not complaining. It's a little bit more miles. It's like 310 up, 310 back. So it's like enough miles to where I can get there and back with the time that I have available for the day without having to do a 10-hour break. But, you know, just it's not something I'm running all the time, because I'm kind of getting used to running on 70 going to St. Louis and back, you know, because I've been doing that for a couple weeks, and kind of, you know, I know where I'm kind of familiar with a lot of where all the truck stops that I stop at, like Love's or whatever. I mean, there are pilots and stuff too, but Love's is where I fuel, and so and I know that their restaurants a lot of times are 24 hours, so it's a lot easier to stop there when you're running really late. You can be like stopping there in the middle of the night, you know, plus there's quick trips and stuff too, but so part of the inspiration for the topic for this week is basically, even though I would very much like to have a raw chat and a keeping it real segment, hell, I'd like to have technically 3 episodes a week. I'd love to have those 2 segments and the Storytime Friday segment. But Storytime Friday, I gotta get stories written, and then once I get them written, gotta get them recorded. You know, so my struggle is basically time. It's part of why I do the things that I do on the side, with the intention to be able to retire myself at some point, so that I would have the time, not only the financial freedom, but the time freedom as well. You know, that's why, you know, that's why I kind of laugh when you got you know, random people that might know what you're trying to do. Hell, relatives in general, like my mother-in-law, for instance. Love her to death, but she's even one that'll basically call everything a scam. Like, oh, don't do that, you know, don't do that thing online, it's a scam, blah blah blah. Don't pay them any money. And I'm like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, then I'm probably gonna die out here on the road. You know, that's, you know. No, you gotta be positive. It's, you know, you'll eventually get there. I'm like, well, how am I gonna get there? Like, you know, and slowly pay off all the bills. You know, keep renting. You know, but eventually you'll start putting money aside, start saving a little bit, but not, you know, not really anything big. But, you know, still keep working what I'm currently doing. It's like, to me, I don't want to do the next 30 years. I've already been out here 14 almost. I really don't want to be out here another 30. You know, be out here till like I'm 70 or whatever on the road before I can possibly retire. And I don't want to retire on like just, you know, the typical retirement. You know, you retire, get your Social Security, whatever, and maybe get a couple grand if you're lucky, like 2,000 or 3,000. I don't know what people get on their Social Security when they retire, but I know basically there's a lot of them that they still consider themselves on like a limited income, you know, because of the, you know, because they're not working and they're getting their retirement or whatever, and so, but it's not enough to basically just like, hey, I'm gonna go travel, I'm gonna go do the things I want to do. It's basically enough to like, hey, okay, I can pay my bills and get food, but then basically I'm home all the time because I'm retired. All right, well, I've traveled a lot, and but it's not the kind of traveling necessarily I want to do. It's traveling out of necessity because I'm, obviously for my job, which I love my job. I wouldn't change anything about it. I'd rather do this than be clocking in and be on my feet 8 hours a day or whatever. But it's not, it's never been my dream for the next, until I'm 65, 70, 75, whatever. I know a lot of drivers have been out here for 40 years or whatever, and they, like one of the guys in the Raw Chat segment, John, him and his, he talks about his favorite sandwich of all time is a fluffernutter. He's technically retired from the company he was driving for, but he still comes out and drives for them. So he's like part-time now. Gets bored, I guess, being at home. So he comes out and still do a few days here, a few days there. So, but I think he was at he did like 45 or something, 45 years driving or something. Probably started when he was like 20s, like early 20s or whatever. But, thinking about it this week, with not being able to nail down a phone call with Rico and Barry, not hearing from my buddy Dave, and I know that a lot of times, if it goes like a week or two, whatever, I might, we end up getting on the phone and he'll call or whatever, and I'll joke around like, hey man, haven't heard from you for a few weeks, That was right after the schedule change. I was like, yeah, I don't know if we'll be doing a Raw Chat very often because I don't know if we'll connect because of the times overlapping. Like by the time I get back, it's probably early for him. And he's like, well, you could text too. You can let me know. And I'm like, I figure I'm checking in this form. That's kind of my way of showing where I'm at, as that's how he knows I'm working usually. He'll be like, oh, I saw you checked in and such and such. Like, yep. So it's like that kind of bothers me. Not the text part, but the not being able to nail down the conversations, because it's like because I really do want to keep it consistent. I would love to have these conversations every week and have these posted, have the new episodes going up every week and stuff, and that way there's new content every single week. But then sometimes I can't connect, so that's understandable. So, but then you get then I struggle with the, do I record a regular Real Talk Tuesday episode myself? That way I have something posted, to keep, it's not the Keeping It Real segment, and it's not a Raw Chat. But do I do that? So here's where I struggle with. In my new schedule, I'm literally only off on Sunday, and it's not even the full day off. It's literally like a 34-hour break. This Sunday I got home by like 6:30, 6:40. Could have got home a little bit earlier, but I stopped on the way home at because Perkins opens at 6, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of like the omelet for breakfast, especially fully loaded. They have one there. They have two of them there. The first one I got when I went there the first time, because it's been years. I don't know, it's probably been like 20 years since I've been to Perkins, and I know when I used to go, they were open 24 hours. Now I hear there's some that are open 24 hours, but this one is only opens like 6 to like 9 or something. So a little bit after 6, I'll go through there. And like the first time I went through there, I was like, I just realized, it's like, how long have you guys not been 24 hours? And she was like, I don't know, it's probably been like 5, 6, 7 years or something. Like, oh, okay, So they have an omelet called the Everything Omelet, and I'm trying to think. I think it has like maybe sausage and bacon in it, and then like peppers, onions, tomatoes, whatever, and cheese, whatever. It's a pretty good omelet. It's not bad. it felt more on the veggie side than it did on the meat side, so it's kind of seemed more like a garden omelet for me, I guess. But then when I went through there this past, like last Sunday, stopped in there again, literally right after 6, like 6:15. Had to stop, probably 6:15, 6:20. Had to stop in there for gas. Or stop in there after I had to stop at Quick Trip for gas, because one of those days where I get back and I'm getting ready to head home and my gas gauge in my Silverado was on empty. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I knew I had to stop on my way home, but I thought I had a little bit more than that, It was low enough to where your fuel gauge just says low, instead of this many miles to empty. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to push too much. So it was at least 5 miles till I got to Quick Trip. And by that point, I'm driving through this area that's like pitch black on this highway I'm on. No lights, no nothing. And I'm going, please do not run out of gas on the stretch, because literally I had true crime stuff going through my head at that point, thinking this is a pitch black area, there's like some neighborhoods around here, but otherwise there's nothing. If I get straight on the side of the road, I could totally see me just disappearing out here. So thankfully I made it to Quick Trip where it was nice and well lit, whatever, and I was like, woo, thank you. Thank God, woo. But got in there, got gas. Initially was thinking I was gonna go to Denny's. I've ordered from that Denny's before, but they online they have a lower rating, and that's where it's kind of like sometimes the ratings in places I kind of question them, because I've been to places before where the rate had like a low rating, like 3.8 or something, 3.5, and yet I go there and I'm like, I thought the service was excellent, the food was amazing, it's like I don't understand. But I guess it just depends on probably what time of day you go through there. Depends on who's working. It's like, hell, it's like that's kind of why I don't really go out. Like I guess you don't really see movie reviews too much as much anymore, because no longer Siskel and Ebert or whatever. But back in the days when we had the 2 thumbs up for such and such movies, or 2 thumbs down, it was horrible. I went to movies that had a bad rating, like 2 thumbs down, and I often would see the movie and I would actually think the movie was pretty good. I'm like, that's really weird. I don't know why there was 2 thumbs down to this movie, So I deliberately would usually ignore ratings and stuff, because I was like, I'm just still gonna go see it, because I don't want to base my opinion on what others thought of the movie. Now sometimes you go to a movie and it would still be bad. Okay, yeah, that one was not very good. Okay. So it's the same thing with restaurants, like there'd be low rated, and some of the ratings on them would be like, hell, they were like my favorite buffet here, or a Chinese buffet, or not here because I'm up in Nebraska currently, but favorite buffet near where I live in Missouri, this place called Legend of Asia, and I mean it's above 4. It has like a 4.3 rating. Some of the ratings, some of the reviews are like, oh, the servers didn't really speak very good English, and when I was trying to communicate with them, they had trouble understanding me. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a Chinese restaurant. These are Asian waitresses, so maybe they don't speak great English, whatever. And then it said like, oh, it took forever for them to come and refill my glass. They were rating them like a 2 or 3 stars. I'm like, yeah, but was the food good? Like, was it hot? Like, was the place dirty? Like, important stuff. Not, well, I just didn't feel like they were there checking on me every 2 minutes. And so for that, I'm going to rate them like 2 stars, because I think that's ridiculous. Hell, there'll be people they'll get food and they'll be nitpicking. Well, I mean, the food was good, but the presentation on the plate wasn't perfect, and I thought it could have been a little less of such like this, or such as like that. Really? Like, did you enjoy it still? Well, yeah, I mean, it was actually pretty tasty, I enjoyed it. Okay, well then, like, why are you nitpicking on this and that, and it's not even an important thing about it? Did you get sick off the food? Was the food good? Did you enjoy it? Whatever, you know. Did the servers treat you like shit? You know. So, you know, having ordered from Denny's or whatever, the omelet and hash browns and sausage links, you know, bacon or whatever I got, I was like, okay, I had no problem with it. But by the time I was gonna go to Denny's, it was after 6, and I actually prefer, like, omelet wise, I think I like the omelets from Perkins a little bit more. So I was like, yeah, you know what, they're open. I'm gonna go there instead because it's actually on the same road I was going down anyway. Wouldn't have to detour. So I stopped and got some food, and you know, it was like 10 minutes to get my meal to go. Got home basically, you know, on Sundays now. It's like with my schedule, it's like get home, eat, go to bed, you know, catch a little bit of a nap, like 4 or 5 hours, get up. Last couple Sundays, because I only have the one day off, I've been trying to do stuff with the fam. Last 2 Sundays, it was like we actually went to a movie at this theater that's nearby us. Not a cheap experience, you know. It's like $60 or whatever for the tickets, and then like easily $120, $130 for concessions. Because I mean, I know some people be like, $130 for concessions. What the fuck? Yeah, because you know, hell, that large drink is fucking $8 a drink. So it's like, yeah. And then I don't know how much the popcorn is. I think the popcorn is probably like $10 at least. Because I think we have a reward account or something. And so we were able to put our phone number in, and they gave us it was like 50% off the popcorn, which I think it came down to like $5 or $6. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Large drink and large popcorn, you can usually go and get a free refill though. It's like, so try to make the most of it, you know. But so trying to make the most of my Sundays off, you know, do stuff with the fam while still getting time at home to relax and unwind before basically getting back at it again Monday. And to kind of go with this week's topic, I'll admit, like, there's times at home where I'm thinking, now if I have recordings already, like the weeks where I've had, you know, after starting this route, the weeks where I've had a recording for the Raw Chat and already had a phone call for the Keeping It Real segment with Rico and Barry, then I'm like, sweet, I'm already at, like, Thanksgiving week. I had, or the Tuesday, like this past Tuesday, as of like Thanksgiving, I had a recording for the Raw Chat and the Keeping It Real segment already. So I was like, sweet. So it was Thanksgiving, I was off because my load didn't run. That night, I was trying to be proactive to give myself less to do on my day off, on my regular day off. So I went ahead and went online and, you know, went on the editing software, and I went ahead and got my the Keep It Real episode and the Raw Chat episodes, you know, edited, scheduled for the following Tuesday. So then I was like, cool, all right, I've got the schedule, I've worked a little bit ahead, I don't have to worry about them now, because then I can stress a little bit less when I have that scheduled, so that way it's like, over the next couple days before I get off of my one day, I'm not worrying about, like, am I going to be able to get an episode posted, am I going to be able to get this done, is it going to happen, versus like, it just doesn't happen, and then I have a week where I don't have any episodes. So then when I come back, I'm like, hey guys, sorry for the little brief absence, whatever. It's not because I don't want to be here. It's just because, like, I might not have anything recorded, you know, any of the phone calls recorded, and I might not have gotten a chance or felt up to try to do a Real Talk Tuesday random topic. So that's kind of where, you know, when it comes to the like this week's topic, it's like, if you feel broken, you're not alone. There's a lot of times that I'm randomly, like, I had a friend, let's call, you know, I think I told you guys about her, referred to her as D, just the letter D, you know, because I have another friend, on Messenger that has another passive Bitcoin opportunity that, I'm gonna be switching my current website, the passivebitcoin247.com. I have it redirect to the information page for a BitHarvest, but I'm going to be changing that and switching it over to the one with the Miracle nodes. I believe it's Miracle, but it's nodes that you get tokens and their crypto coins. They can then stake and actually, increase it and earn from it and stuff. And you can earn on your node by the transactions with Bitcoin on debit cards and stuff. So it's like I'm gonna be switching that up, mainly because there was a change that happened with BitHarvest. It's still around, but it basically underwent some changes and it's now not as good. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be taking out what I have in that and focusing on the thing. I'm all about, like, if I'm gonna promote things with you guys to say, hey, you should try this. I want to actually tell you guys about things that I fully believe in, things that I know are working, things I know are lucrative and could actually bring in a good income. Because that's what I'm all about. I do this podcast with the hope and intention to eventually monetize it. And we're gonna have the Storytime Friday volumes eventually published. There's gonna be merch out there, whether it's who knows if it's just like hoodies and coffee mugs or whatever. But basically, this podcast is gonna get bigger and bigger. That's the goal. And eventually, I'll have my goal is to not have to work my ass off like I'm doing, and to actually have time to do the things I want to do. That's why I said one of the sayings I've always had is do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. And then one other saying is we haven't failed. As long as we haven't quit, given up, and walked away, you haven't failed yet. I know there's the problem with my former friend D, which she was more like, as I believe in how we speak holds a little bit of power in our lives. Like, I'm not saying that if you say I'm gonna be rich, that you're gonna necessarily get exactly rich at the start. Like, you gotta speak it and believe it, but you gotta also it's hard to say I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be a millionaire, and I'm gonna be financially free and never have to worry about money again. But then everything that comes because when you start to kind of tell yourself that, you're gonna open yourself up to opportunities coming your direction. Maybe some of them probably scams, but a lot of them probably not. Some of them might be high dollar income possibilities, and some of them might just be medium, where you can make a little bit here, a little bit there. But opportunities nonetheless. And there's a lot of people out there that basically talk about, I'm a future millionaire, blah, blah, blah. But anything that comes to them, that anybody proposes to them, like, hey, you should check this out. Oh, no, that's a scam. Oh, no, this is a scam. Nope, that's a scam. Nope. That's a scam. Alright, well, if you believe everything's a scam, if you're too afraid, you're approaching everything from a fear mindset. Like, I'm not, oh no, I don't want to lose my money, I don't want to waste money on something that's not going to pan out. Okay, it's like, Dee would always sit around and complain that life was hard. Like, she would spend all her disability check within a couple days. And it was always, this sucks, that sucks, everything sucks, nothing's ever going to get better. And I'd always be like, well, why don't you try to find something online that you can try to do to bring in, even if it's just a couple $100 a month? Well, no, because I might lose my check. I'm like, well, if you didn't need your check, because you're making enough to replace it, wouldn't that be better? She's like, well, no, because I can't work because I have too much anxiety. I'm Like, you want to talk about anxiety, you should come out here and do what I do. Fellow truckers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, whether it's working an overnight shift, whether it's dealing with dumbass drivers out here that, and I'm not talking just car drivers, because there are dumbass truckers out there too that'll walk out of their trucks, flip-flops, coming straight out of their truck, stepping out of their truck face out, like, you know, we're trained, well, those of us that are trained anyway, not the ones that just, hey, I got my CDL and got a truck, and now I'm a owner-operator. Cool, all right. But then they fly by you going 75 and a 65. You know, or they get off on the shoulder and flash their lights on at you, like when you're held in the right lane, like you're in their way because there's a car beside you. I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like, you need to slow the fuck down. So there's dumbass truckers out there too. So we're not all great drivers either. But temporarily lost where I was going with that, but you know, that's the problem. I thought about this past week. I thought about you know, without having any recordings from, you know, Rico and Barry or my buddy Dave and these other truckers that we talked to. Last week I kind of debated on, you know, maybe I'll just have an off week, or maybe I'll do an episode and kind of update people on why it's just a regular episode this week. So partially with this episode, I was actually, I mean, I'm still kind of getting over it, but I was kind of sick this past week. Had one of those colds where it's like, got the congestion going on, where it's like quite a few days actually. You know, you're coughing, but it's a dry cough. You're not clearing anything out, but you have that itch in the throat and the chest. So you wake up coughing, not being able to relieve it or whatever. So ideally, I tend to try to not use cold meds if I can avoid it. But most colds that I get, if I don't take something like Mucinex or something, it ends up just getting bad enough to where I'm like coughing and struggling to sleep or whatever. So I got to a point where I realized my abs were hurting. Before I even knew I had congestion, I woke up getting ready for work, and I'm like, man, I went to cough or whatever, and I was like, oh man, my abs are like freaking like tender, man, what's going on? And then I found myself coughing and not clearing anything out, but I had that itch, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, this is what's going on, all right. So I went to the store, got Mucinex Max, got some cough syrup that's also not just a cough suppressant, but an expectorant, I guess, you know, to help, like, not just suppress the cough, but also help you to start clearing crap out. Still takes a couple of days of taking that combo before, you know, randomly I'll be walking outside to my Silverado and I'll cough, and of course you end up with a mouthful of freaking mucus. So that's like, all right, you're spitting it out or whatever. Telling the kids and you know, the fam at home is like, if you start to feel like you're coming down with similar symptoms, take these meds, clear it out, you know, get rid of it, you know, because that's gonna, you know, don't let it build up, don't let it get worse, just do what you can to try to get ahead of it. So, but I debated on doing this podcast episode mainly because it was like, you know, it's like on my one day, I have a one day off, and it's not enough time for me to come back to work and feel like, oh, I'm nice and rested, oh man. And I do a pretty long day. I do at least 500-mile round trip, and I literally off-duty drive my personal conveyance over to where I pick up my load, and then when I get back, I PC back to where I'm back to where I park and head home for my day, but you know, my night off, or my 10 hours at least. Let's see, how far are we? Okay, I knew I was getting close, but I wasn't sure exactly how close. Because I just literally just saw the sign that said Norfolk, entering Norfolk, welcome. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm here, okay. And then GPS in my ear basically was like, the next light, turn right. Oh shit. So just brought up Google Maps really quick here. It's like, all right, how close am I? It's like, oh, within 3 miles. All right. What I might do is I might pause the recording briefly, come back, or I'm not trying to think here. Let's see. But I mean, I have to take a 30-minute break at the hub anyway, before I take off again. And it's doubles, so I know technically part of that 30 is gonna be me, setting up and whatnot. So but just hang in there with me real quick. Obviously, when I come back, it's not gonna be too long. I'm not gonna take up too much of your day. The other portion of this episode, but I don't want to just end it the next minute or two without really diving into a little bit what I was talking about. So bear with me, and I will be right back with you. Alright guys, I'm back. But once again, I just want to thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Took me a little bit to get all hooked up out here in Norfolk. Thought I was gonna thought I was gonna have a little bit of a easier trip back, be able to go straight back to Kansas City. Anytime they send me somewhere other than St. Louis, what I try to do is, unless they have something that has to go back to Lenexa, I go ahead and try to see if I can go back straight to Kansas City instead of Lenexa, so that way I can, because if I go to Lenexa, I then have to bobtail back to Kansas City before I can get my Silverado and head home. But tonight, at first I thought, oh hey, they only had one pup, they had two 53s, but the 53 footers had a glad hand lock on them, so they only had the one pup that was available, and I didn't know if it was loaded or not, because I hadn't checked the back. So I called Kansas City and was basically trying to ask them, like, hey, is it possible, because they don't have anything assigned, could I come straight back to you guys? And he said, well, let me check, because I was like, they only have one pup here, so best I could probably do is, take the one pup and my dolly. Since they don't have two trailers, I wouldn't be able to bring a set of doubles back or whatever. He's like, what's the trailer number? So I gave it to him, and he kind of laughed, and he's like, you're not gonna believe this. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, that trailer actually has to go to Lenexa. I'm like, oh, it's loaded to Lenexa. He goes, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, are you able to do that? I'm like, well, I mean, if it's a load that has to go back to Lenexa, then yeah, I'll do it. I was like, if it's empty, then I would rather just come straight back to you guys, because I'm gonna have basically bobtail back to Kansas City anyway. But since it's a load that has to go to Lenexa, I guess I'll take that one in my dolly. And he goes, all right, cool, got you set up in there. So, plus of course, I had to take it slow while I was in there, because the parking lot was still pretty iced up. So when I dropped the dolly, because it was a small location too, so there wasn't a whole lot of room to maneuver around. So I dropped the dolly, and then, when I backed up the loaded trailer back to the dolly, and I was trying to maneuver the dolly back up to the trailer to hook it up, I was trying to be really careful, because I was literally standing on slush and ice, and I was like, in the dolly, most of the dollies, yeah, I mean, they're heavy, but most of them, you lift the front end up, and it doesn't feel that bad. It's a little bit heavy, but not bad. This one, I don't know what the deal was. This dolly I have, it is, you lift it up, and you're just like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, there is a lot. it just feels a lot heavier than what it would normally be, and I'm like, I've had a couple dollies like that where it's like for no reason they look the same, but for no reason you can tell they're just a little bit heavier. And they just feel a lot heavier than the average dolly. I'm like, all right, whatever, you know. But so I managed to get the dolly hooked up to the trailer, and you know how it is when you're coming up on an intersection or whatever, and you can see a reflection of a vehicle sitting in the median, and you're like, oh, there's a cop. And it's like, the speed limit here, I believe, is 70. It's still, there's 2 lanes going one direction, 2 lanes going another direction, and you know, it's pretty desolate. Like, there's nobody out here. Like, I don't think I've seen another car go in the other direction in a minute. So when I came up on him and I noticed he was there, I turned the bright lights off and, you know, braked a little bit, but not much. But, you know, first thought is, of course, like, what's the speed limit? Am I, you know, sometimes I'll realize, like, oh crap, like, it's a little bit slower than what I'm going, but most of the time I'm going the speed limit or below. It's like 70 and I'm going 65, you know. Then, of course, really watching it because coming up on a construction zone or whatever, so it's dropping down to 65 instead of 70, which I'm like, all right, well, that's still what I'm governed at, so I'm still good there. But when I got close to the Norfolk location, I got a little concerned because where it got me off at for like the last like 3 miles before I turned to the hub, the road basically had a sign that said like no trucks over 30,000 pounds. I'm like, well, shit, like that's the direction they're having me go. So I was a little concerned, but I came down that street, literally like come down that street for like 3 miles, and you take a right. And literally, like, FedEx is like right there. You take it right for like 200 feet, and then you turn into the truck entrance to the hub. And I'm like, all right, well, it's right here. So then when I was navigating to come out of there, I looked at alternative roads, and I was like, well, I really haven't seen any cars on these roads at all. I saw one cop that drove down there after I was already at the gate. But other than that, I didn't see anybody. So I thought, well, screw it. I'm just gonna take that road very quickly back to the road I came in on, and I'll just navigate out that way, you know. So back on the main road, and of course something just ran across the road. Oh shit, something else ran across the road too. Pretty sure those are coyotes, because they look kind of like foxes, kind of, but they were still like 100 so feet in front of me, and it was like, well, I couldn't quite see him. So. Fun times. But anyway, to kind of like not go, you know, to drag this episode on too much and stuff. But I'll admit. So when I say like, have you ever felt like, do you feel broken? Do you struggle with your mental health? Do you sometimes struggle with motivation to keep going? You're not alone. I deal with it all the time. I carry, you know, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, especially those of you that are doing kind of like what I'm doing, where you have like 34 hours off. Otherwise, you're busy as hell. You really don't have any free time. It can be hard to be motivated to actually get up and do stuff when you only have so many hours off. Hell, my weekdays, it's like I literally, hell, like this morning, for instance, like still going all the way back to Lenex, I probably won't get home. Hell, I might not get home until close to 8, and then I'll get hours back probably by like 4:30. So I'll still be getting up around 3, getting ready to go, taking off, getting to the hub between like 4ish, and then bobtailing over to Little X and get over there at 5ish. And by that point, I'll have my full 11-hour drive time, 14-hour clock, back again. And I'll be able to pick up for St. Louis and whatnot. But I have a lot of times I have a couple of days like that each week. Where I get back so late that I literally have 10 hours off and I'm back. Not a big deal. It literally just makes for a couple of days where I joke with the wife, like, well, see you Saturday or Sunday, because she's off Saturday and Sunday, and otherwise during the week she works Monday through Friday. She goes in at like 5. She gets to work by like 6:30, but she leaves like 5, between like 5:15 and 5:45, and then I might not get home till like 6ish. Whereas today I'll get home like 7:30. It's like gonna be like, hey, I'm just gonna get home, eat, maybe jump in the shower briefly, and basically drag my ass right to bed. Because be like, well, I have to get to sleep because I gotta get up. So, the kids will go to school, or like my youngest will go to school, my grandson will go to school. My oldest, I think she's working her new job now, so she'll be at work probably at like 8 or 9 or whatever. I mean, depending on what time I get home, I can be like, hey, I'll drop you off early at your job. But if she gets off at 2, I'm gonna be like, well, I didn't get to bed till 8, so I really don't think I can get up to pick you up by 2. I can try, but yesterday when I was off, or when I was, getting up and getting ready to come in on my Monday, she had texted the group chat like, hey, get off at 2, if anybody can, mom and dad or whatever, if you guys can, any chance can pick me up, because I made it here, but I need help getting home, and of course my wife doesn't get home till like 4. She's like, well, I won't be home for a while, so probably dad. Messaged dad, and my oldest was like, well, I did. I talked to him yesterday, but I just thought I'd put it out there, and I was like, well, I'm getting ready now. I'll be, being there to pick you up. And then when I picked her up, and I was like, now I can't promise on, when I'm getting home after work on my regular days, I can pick you up at 2, because I might not get home till like 7 or 8. So I'm like, gonna be a little bit of it might be something where like, she has to wait at her job until like 3:30 until my wife can swing in there to get her, because the initial plan before like she got hired like middle of mid-November, but they planned for her to start around the 1st, and then around the 1st we had that snowstorm we just had last week. Probably a good 6 inches of snow at least. I had to go out, like, literally, like, it happened on, like, a Monday morning all the way through the day. I was moving east, so basically, like, I didn't even work that day because the storm was moving along the highway that normally I would travel along. And my boss messaged me called me that day and basically was like, are you working? And I'm like, I assume so. I mean, I had planned on it. He was like, well, because the roads are really bad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's a storm that came through, and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't even looked outside. He goes, you might want to do that. So when I realized, and I looked up the road conditions out near St. Louis, I was like, yeah, it sounds pretty bad. He goes, yeah, because we can just call it on account of weather. I mean, they're still running, but like, it's gonna be really bad. I don't want you to get stuck in it. So if you want to take the day off, I can let them know that we're not gonna run it due to weather. I was like, yeah, go ahead, I'll take the day off. Why not? Since I only have one day off usually, I'm like, hey, an extra day off, sure, why not? So, sorry, I just got a yawn, a little bit of a yawn right there. Where it's like, sorry guys, I'm tired. But so, I do that's one of the when it comes to like dealing with like everyday things you have to do, responsibilities you have to take care of. When it comes to like things at home, I have a lot on my shoulders. Like even though my wife and I both work full time, I pretty much still handle pretty much the bulk of everything as far as like the bills and whatnot. She handles stuff like, oh, I need to replace this. We're out of this. So basically, like, there'll be like packages every week that'll show up for her. It'll be like her replacing. Oh, we need toilet paper for the house. Okay, I'm not gonna argue, you know. And then, oh, we more sleep gummies. All right, you know. But you know, I deal with feeling that weight where it's like, you know, even though I understand why things are the way they are between she and I, as far as like what she handles and what I handle, I still have those thoughts like, hey, you know, it'd be really nice to feel like I'm not fully alone on covering the majority of the bills. Sometimes I have to pull myself back from feeling that way because I'm like, I know she does a lot, you know, so it's just like, you know, it's all about communication. It's just talking to your partner. But then trying to handle things for the kids, you know, and basically like I cover the full house payment, the full rent, whatever. I mean, I easily between you know, for all the stuff that I take care of every month, easily with rents, utilities, other bills, you know, easily between $4,000 and $5,000 that I have going out myself. And some of the things I kind of get a little, you know, bitter about because it's like we switched with our phones. I used to have like we were on Mint Mobile for a couple years. You know, we pay every 6 months, it'd be like $200 something, you know, for each line. So like you know, my wife handled hers, I took care of mine, and I had my youngest. I had put her on helium because it was like $15 a month or something. For her to have like 10 gigs of data and unlimited talk and text. Easy enough every 6 months, but like I don't know, like maybe 3 or 4 months back, my wife, because she's one of those that, you know, sees a good deal. Oh my god! So it's like, you know, she got the shiny woo. So a few months back, you know, in 18, because we had AT&T internet, whatever, which I put. Thankfully, I you know, a while back and actually put that in her name, so she was handling that bill. So I was like, thank God for that. All right, cool. One bill I don't have to handle. And I wasn't handling her phones, and she was taking care of that. But AT&T came over because they had to fix something with the internet. And then the guy started talking to her about like, well, hey, if you guys want to trade in your phones, like we can get you out this and that, you know, throwing out the, hey, we'll get you this deal, we'll get you that deal, we'll get you a brand new phone, blah blah blah. And then pitching us like, hey, it's only gonna be like $100 a month for the two of you. And of course, then she's calling me like, hey, love, how do you want to like, do you want to get a new Pixel, like the new Pixel? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, the AT&T guy's here, or the AT&T guy is here, and he's saying this and that, and he's got this figure and that figure, and I'm like, well, that sounds great, but like, love, like, I don't want a monthly phone bill. Like, you know, I really like not having to pay and worry monthly about like, oh crap, I got to pay the cell bill this month. I know, but like my phone is like, she's like, I really need a new phone because this, you know, this phone is like, has this problem and it doesn't do this or whatever, and I really need to replace it. And I'm like, I hear you, but again, I'm really not wanting to switch and have to pay monthly or whatever. But you know, I let her talk. She talked me into it. And initially we had me, my wife, my youngest on the plan, and she like for some reason all of a sudden like I can log in and deal with the bill, but like all of a sudden like it wasn't letting my wife log in. At least that's what she's saying. So basically like anytime you know it comes up on the bill, I went from handling just my phone every 6 months to now I'm dealing with AT&T every month for me, my wife, and my daughter. And sometimes my wife sends me half for, to help me with the bill, to help cover the bill. And most of the time not though. And it's like, well, shit, like I didn't agree to this. So, because I get like as you guys know, I've got plans to like try to get myself out of doing this full time, to give myself time freedom, financial freedom. And so it's like, so I took on that. And of course, my rent center, when we moved up here, we, had to furnish the house. So it's like we did get our stuff delivered, but a lot of stuff was broken. So it's like we still have a rent center account. There's things on there that the wife picked out that technically we don't need. So it's like, and I'm handling that every week as well. And it's like, well, shit, like I didn't want to get back into paying rent center again because I'd paid them all off. I had to account with them back in Nashville, and it had been a few years since like I'd paid multiple things off. Like I paid off our bed set, paid off my daughter's bed set. We had a freezer that went out, so I had to get a freezer, like a deep freeze from them. And let's see, it's been. I think we had to get a washer because our washer quit working, so I had to get a washer through them. And of course, my phone that now my daughter has. Before when we upgraded with AT&T, I had a Pixel 7 that was paid off. Had it through Rent-A-Center, had it fully paid off. And that was the last thing I had with them. And they do the once I had everything paid off, you still get the weekly. Hey, we have this promotion, that promotion. Is there, they'd call you and I'd be like, well, do you guys have like phones still? Because like I could go for the new Pixel. Like if you have phones, I would totally do that. And like, well, no, we don't do phones anymore. I'm like, okay, well, at the time I was like, well, there's really not anything we need. So I think I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna worry about it right now. Like, okay, cool. Well, yeah, if there's anything you need, just get in touch. Okay. But we moved up here, of course, and it was like, well, we need this and we need that. And it was like, oh. So we're back in the paid weekly again for a while. The Rent-A-Center to pay off, bedroom sets. Got a stand-up freezer to go with our chest freezer that we, finally had delivered with the movers. But it's just like, my point is with all that, it's like there's always a lot, and I know eventually it'll feel like a huge weight was lifted off because things will get paid off, and I'll no longer have some of these big weekly expenses that have to go out. So they'll be like, hey, cool, now I can start saving a little bit here, Now I can start planning for stuff. Obviously I'm trying to do stuff on the side right now so that when I get to that point where things are paid off and like get closer to where my truck is paid off, I can, not have to wait until that point, to actually start making stuff happen. I can be like, hey, cool, like now we have, extra money in the budget that's not going out, but I've already got this and this and this set up, so I'm already making money over here, so now we're just in an even better spot, because not only do we have the extra money that doesn't have to go out, but I've already got these other streams of income coming in, and then now I can beef them up a little bit, I don't want to wait till that point to then start, So, but, there's weeks where literally I'll be at home and I'll just feel the weight of the world on me, be struggling, because it's like and I know that my wife I know that my wife, or maybe wives in general, or spouses, that aren't the major breadwinners or whatever, maybe and I know we're kind of like co-breadwinners, but I know that I bring in a little bit decent chunk of change more per week than she does. But it's still like, all right, but we're both working, so why can't we both be helping with this, So I struggle with that, and I know it's not that she does anything that I'm feeling overwhelmed by. I know that I kind of believe that she's not doing it on purpose or whatever, and I've tried to, basically it's all about communication. You gotta talk to your partners or whatever, and, know, if there's things that are weighing you down that you're like, I just don't know when this is ever gonna get fixed or when this is just gonna change. You know, because I always have this weighing me down, or I deal with this. Part of it is like if you're listening to this right now, and let's say you're a spouse, let's say you're a spouse of a trucker or a spouse of somebody that is the major breadwinner in the house, and they do a lot. Show them, and tell them and show them that you appreciate them. You know, let them know that you notice the things they do, because, and there's times where, and this is a big one, guys, like, especially those of you, like, if you're, you know, like I said, if you're a spouse of, you know, if you're not the major breadwinner in the house, or, you know, the major income that comes in, if your husband or wife or whatever has to go out there and, you know, they're away from home a lot, working hard, trying to take care of stuff, it is really, really, it's actually a lot harder on us when we're doing everything we're trying to do, and we feel like it's expected. You know, like, well, you make more money than I do, so you, like, obviously, like, it makes more sense for you to handle that stuff, and I'm just gonna, you know, order the stuff for the house that needs to be ordered, or, you know, get some groceries. But it's like, okay, but if you're not always sticking to that, like, for instance, like, in my job, I had me, my kids, and my wife covered 100% with our medical, dental, vision, life, whatever, through my work. Medical part by itself was like $300 a week just for medical. That wasn't including dental, vision, life. My wife, when she got her current job, I'm not sure why she did it, because, like, I realized it about a month or two in, all of a sudden she started getting benefits, letters in the mail from her job, and she's like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. And I was looking at it, I'm like, so what, you signed up with benefits with your job? She goes, well, yeah. I'm like, well, love, like, I have you covered through my job, like, fully covered, medical, dental, vision. Well, I know, but I figured I would, you know, it makes more sense for me, you know, because I have benefits with my job. I might as well go ahead and sign up over here. I'm like, okay, well. So then she got her medical cards, and so I started talking to my payroll / HR, because it's the same person. And I was like, hey, is it possible for me to drop medical for my benefits? She goes, well, unfortunately, you know, not till open enrollment unless there's a qualifying life event. I'm like, so you're saying that I'm stuck paying $300 a week for, you know, my medical? And I was like, when my wife is no longer, like, she's covered with her job now, and I'm covered with the VA, you know, and the kids can be covered, you know, they're covered through the state. And she's like, well, actually, that counts as a life event. So it's always interesting when the camera on the windshield randomly, like, the blue light that's on it just starts doing a little flash, and then a couple of slow blinks, and then back to steady blue like normal. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's doing the occasional random, I'm gonna record a few seconds, and I'm like, well, phone's in the phone mount, headset's on, hands are on the wheel, so it's like, I'm good. So, but so basically, just, you know, it's like, if there's an arrangement between partners and spouses and whatever, it's like, yeah, okay, they make more, they're gonna cover this, all right, but it still should show, like, hey, I really appreciate, you know, everything you do. Hell, my mother-in-law, you know, she and I don't always get along. I mean, I think we're in pretty good terms, but there's been some times where I'll get a random text from her, like, hey, Chris, I really appreciate everything you know, thank you for everything you do for Aaron and the girls and the grandson. Like, I know you work hard, and I really appreciate how much you try to do for them. And I said, well, I'm just doing what I do. Thank you for the appreciation. I appreciate you acknowledging me. So, and that little bit right there, that felt good, because, to be acknowledged and thought of. That's why there's times where, like, I've come home, either doing this job or when I did the box truck side with FedEx, working some insane hours. I'd come home after working like 14, 16, 18-hour day or whatever, and tired as hell, and only be able to get home for like a brief. It's like, like tonight I'm only gonna be able to get home to technically not even be home for 10 hours. I'll be off for 10 hours, but I'll get home for probably like 7. Home for 7, back up, wake up, get back ready to head out and come back to work again. So it's like, man, but there'll be days like that where I'm so utterly exhausted, and as some of you could probably relate, when you're tired enough, like it's almost like you can feel emotional, feel overwhelmed, to the point where, like, when you're that tired, sometimes you're thinking about all the stuff that might not be the way you want it. That might not be, might be the finances, struggles with the finances, might be the bills that you couldn't pay that week, or little things like, for me, sometimes it's going to the store, saying, hey, let's go to the store to get such and such. Like, case in point, over the weekend, and again, I apologize about the random coughs. Like, I'm doing better, but still coming off the cold from last week, so it's like, last week I could barely talk for a little while, and I literally would get that itch in the throat that I'd have to, like, hack up a lung and drink some water or whatever. Do a little bit better this week. So that's why the occasional pauses and stuff. But I would come home and, be like super tired, and, of course, like, I'm in my head because of how tired I am. Sometimes when you're tired, it's like, I don't know if there's anybody out there that does not know how this feels, but I'm sure a lot of us do, where you're so tired, so exhausted, that it's almost depressing. It's like, you're so exhausted that, like, I like to call it brain fried. You're so brain fried that, anything that is a worry or a stress or something that you're not happy about, that you wish is better, that you look forward to, you try to change, those little things weigh on you a lot heavier than and so it's like, you're tired, you're getting home, and you're just like, oh, man, crap, and sometimes those are the times when my wife and I will get into a fight. But case in point, as far as what I was saying, was over the weekend, my daughter had my youngest, she's working her first job. She's got 2 paychecks. Like, first paycheck, she did pretty good. She put her availability, like, any day of the week, 2 to 10, blah blah blah. Because she gets off from school like 1:15. And so they were working her quite a bit, and her first check was damn near like $600. But of course, like, they worked her every day for the first week, and then they worked her 3 or 4 days for like 8 hours the second week. And then she's like, this sucks. Like, I like the paycheck, but I might adjust my availability, so I'm only available for half the week. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, just know that that's going to affect your paycheck. Like, that's fine if that's what you want to do, because you don't have to work full time. Like, you don't have any bills. Like, whatever you work, me and my wife are both doing the whole. Like, whatever you do work, obviously try to put some into your savings account. My wife's saying, like, well, let's put 10%. So if you only get a $200 check, put like $20 away, and I'm like, well, if you don't have to use the money, then you should save as much as possible. Obviously, if there's things you want, since you're technically a kid still, go for it. Just do what you gotta do, do what you want to do. But I said, but 6 months or so down the line, if you have been consistently putting money in savings and you have, say, 500, 1,000, 2,000 tucked away in your savings, you can either keep saving, or if something comes up that you want to do that costs more, hey, guess what, you can do it. Or if you want to put, like, let's say you want to buy a car or something, even though we have the Buick that's hers, like, she, is one of the same, but over the weekend she'd actually gotten us movie tickets, because she's a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, hardcore, and they have the second movie out, Five Nights at Freddy 2, and so she bought tickets for all of us, and she was like, well, and I ordered merch and stuff, so with my paycheck, I'm already broke, so if you guys could help with, like, the help with the concessions. I said, well, obviously. I was like, that's fine. I got that, So, paid for the concessions, and then when I was saying, like, when you go to the store saying we're only going for such and such, when it comes to, like, your spouses or whatever. I mean, your spouse, kids, whatever, but kids are gonna do it anyway. You know how it is. Like, you go to the store, hey, we're only getting, like, go to the store for this. Like, my youngest is pretty good. My youngest and my oldest, I mean, they're pretty good. We'll go to the store, say we're only going for such and such. And if there's things that they absolutely, like, let's say there's something I need, like, hey, Dad, can I get I need deodorant or something. Can I get it? Like, yeah, go for it. You need it, obviously. Or sometimes, hey, this is not a need, but can we get such and such? It might be like, can I, like, we're getting low in turkey, deli turkey at home. Can we go get a pound of turkey, or can we get chicken fries or something? I might, depending on what the finances look like in my account, I might be like, well, let's hold off on it for right now, because of course I'm thinking, like, when it comes, how it is, like, you got in our job, it's like I gotta not only plan for gas to and from work, but I'm also gotta plan for, like, coffee and food when I'm out here working or whatever, because I can't just come out here and be like, well, I ate before I came in, and then 14 hours later I'll get back home and eat again. And then, no, I'm gonna be dying by that point, so I gotta have, like, some sustenance out here, even if it's just like some bottled water, some gloves, and getting a meal from Arby's or something. Gotta do something, and a coffee. Like, that's what I did tonight. Coffee for the first time in, like, the last couple days from Love's. And sorry, just checking GPS here real quick. All right, 32 miles till the next switch off. So still good, but it's like I kind of had to explain that to the wife a while back. Like, I gotta budget for the week to get me at least through till payday again, to where gotta be able to get food, coffee out here. Have a little bit of money for if I have to put some extra gas in the Silverado. It's not a long commute; it's like 30 minutes, but going to places and saying, hey, we're only going for these things. We sometimes will get, like, these corned beef briskets from Aldi's, and we'll do basically a homemade hash. Like, we'll put the brisket in the slow cooker for like 10 or 12 hours, and then we'll do some hash browns, and we'll add like little cherry tomatoes, green peppers, maybe some onion. My wife will put heavy cream in there and some seasoning and whatnot. Basically, be like a homemade corned beef hash. So long as you get the thick layer of fat off the brisket before you shred it, add it to all the other stuff, then it's really good. But obviously, like, when you get like a hash and, like, the brisket's really gristly because we didn't get try to, like, remove that or whatever. It's still good, but it's like, okay, this meat's a little bit too, a little chewy. But we had gotten this brisket a while back, probably a few months, and it had been in the freezer, and so I was like, Saturday night, I was kind of like, hey, my youngest, I was like, hey, if you want, like if you want us to do hash, if you're able to, get the brisket out of the freezer, stick it on the stove, just set it out, and I'll get it in the slow cooker when I get home, and then tomorrow after the movie we can hit the store to get hash browns and maybe some deli meat for your. Cause she does sandwiches or whatever, so I'll get like turkey and salami and provolone cheese or whatever, so that way she can just make random sandwiches. She's like, maybe. I said, okay. She didn't take it out, but I still figured out. I still went ahead. When I got home, it's like 6:30, 7 a.m. It's gonna take like a 5-hour nap before the movie. I figured I was gonna go ahead and do it. So like, I got it out of the freezer, ran it under hot water for a brief minute, so that way I can. Cause it's got a little packet, like a little seasoning packet that you can, basically put in there with the brisket or whatever to flavor it a little bit. Somehow, like a cup of water or whatever, or if we have it, a bottle of like beer, on the brisket or whatever. I figured put it on low for 12 hours, and I set it up before I went to bed. And then after the movie, on our way home, dropped our oldest and our grandson off at the oldest off at home. The grandson was with the other grandparents and the bio dad because they had come up, so they had him for the weekend. But then me, my wife, and my youngest went to the store because I was like, hey, let's grab the food stamp card. We had the last $60 on it, and because we're not gonna have it renewed. We're at the tail end of where they wanted to renew or basically review your current situation to see if you're still qualified. I'm like, I'd only gotten it for us. We got us on it when we came up here because I'm, as like a step up, like a head up to kind of like help us while we were getting on our feet. And then, I wasn't planning to be on it permanently, so we just basically let it drop off, but we still had $60 on the card. And so the plan was like, hey, why don't we go to the store? We'll use the stamp card. We'll get hash browns for the hash, and then you like some deli meat for your sandwiches. And my wife was like, yeah, we need heavy cream for the hash too. I'm like, okay, not a problem, So went in there. We got like some avocados because I was gonna go ahead and make guac, which I was like, alright, that's fine. Sometimes when you're in there, you can't find them. They're like rock hard, so it's like you can get them, but you have to wait a couple days till you can actually end up making the guac because you can't mash them up if they're rock hard. So we have this family recipe that we do that I've never lost a challenge yet. One of these days I might have, that's one of the things I'm kind of debating on too, because it's one of the products that I would love to be able to sell that I think would really like rock it, I've had people in the past like, oh, my guac is the best, blah, blah, blah. And okay, So we'd come to a party and they would make theirs, I'd make mine. At the end of the party, mine's gone and their bowl is still full or whatever. And they're like they would even try mine and be like, okay, yours is actually better. Like, people that would try my guac and even be like, I don't normally like guac, but I actually really like yours. I'm like, cool, thanks. I have had a few people actually buy a container or whatever. I'm like, cool, sweet. I've had friends of my wife that she worked with back in Nashville. They would actually always request it, like, hey, when your husband makes guac, if you could, like, I request a small container or whatever. And I'm like, all right, So out of habit, I would make guac and I'd set aside a small container. I'm like, you realize, like, technically we could be charging him for this regular guac he's getting. She's like, yeah, I know, but he's technically a friend. So I was like, I know. I was like, I'm just saying, like, he could be buying it from us, like supporting us a little bit. But it wasn't technically a business yet, So I was like, yeah, that's fine, I was like, you realize if he asks for a lot more, like, we're gonna have to charge him for it. She goes, yeah, I know. Like if I give them full size container, I'm gonna charge them probably like whatever. I'd have to figure it out, but $10 or $20 or whatever for full size containers. I know. But so we go to the store, and we get the avocados. That's probably an extra thing. Get the turkey, get her deli meat, whatever. And I wanted to grab a masher, like an actual potato masher that had not the round plastic piece that has little holes in it. I wanted to get one of the ones that had the wires that kind of loop around, so it's not, it's one of the old school type potato mashers. Works great for mashing an avocado, especially if they're soft enough. You can mash I don't like mashing with the masher that has little holes in the masher because that really sucks. But the other one that has a lot of space between all the different prongs, so much easier to do what you gotta do and actually thoroughly mash the stuff up and then mix in the other ingredients. Someday, maybe I'll have that recipe, that product actually being sold, and they can be like, hey guys, to try the Logic Walk, go over here. Go to this website, order yours today. Anybody who comes from the Logic Show website, you can get this percentage off. So anybody who, right now I would sell some to the any listeners or whatever. Feel free to drop me an email, blogishowpodcast@gmail.com, and we can talk about size and price or whatever of the containers or whatever. And I could look into how much it would cost to ship. But right now, unofficially, I'm not currently selling it. So. But going through the store, and I got the masher, and of course, one thing I did notice, of course, we got the hash browns, and my wife she grabbed her heavy cream, which is okay. Then she's grabbing a couple other things, and there's probably maybe 5 or 10 other random items. They were saying, "Well, I'm gonna grab this, and I need this, and we need some of that." And I'm looking at her, I'm like, "Love, we only have $60 on the stamp card. I'm willing to pay above that, obviously, for if we go above that because some of the stuff we need, but I don't want to go too far above that just because we're in the store, we need this." I'm like, "Yeah, but unless you're offering to help me out here with the grocery tab, I'm paying for this and you're just adding shit to the cart." And when we went to, because of course my youngest, she's like, "So should we get chicken fries?" And those are 15, I don't know, might be 12, but I think they're 15 to $20 because it's a big bag. I was like, let's hold off, because I was seeing all the stuff that was getting added to the cart. I'm like, let's hold off for that right now, because there's already a bunch of stuff that it's not stuff that was on the list technically, and I don't want to say yes and then have it be even more, because I also got a plan for my week. She was okay, So we get up there and check out, and of course, the $60 is tapped pretty quick. I think the total was probably 190 or something. So it was not only was it the 60, but then there was 130 on top of that, and I was like, I had it, but I was like, fuck. My wife's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine for you because you're not paying, you're not paying the balance. That's why I said coming here for hash browns and deli meat and heavy cream and maybe a couple items, but not there was no conversation, Hey, I love what's the budget? Are we able to can we get it how far over can we get? I'd be like, we can go a little bit over, but I don't want to go too far over. There was no conversation. It was just oh, I'm grabbing this, grabbing that, that's got that. So it's if you're in a situation like that with your spouse or whatever, and your spouse obviously does whatever they can to doesn't really complain too much, just goes ahead and takes care of it or whatever, even though they might stress a little bit, just a little bit of appreciation might actually, it goes a long way. Hey, I know that you're stressing out money wise, but things gonna be okay. I really appreciate everything you do. You're a great provider, blah blah blah. When I was talking about coming home and being stressed or whatever, being overwhelmed because of like you're overly tired. I've had, I've had moments. So this goes down to like any of us out here that where I ask you if you like, do you feel like you're broken? You know, do you feel like you struggle with your mental health? I have come home on occasion, and my wife's come in the kitchen, and I'll be in that state where I'm standing in the kitchen, and I'm just standing by the counter, and I just got my head in my hand or whatever, and she'll come in, and maybe some of you guys have had this experience too, where like, especially those of us guys out here that we're trying to keep it all together. You know, we're like, we're tough, you know, like we don't want to show emotion. You know, we want to be like, hey, I got it all together. I'm good. Like, I'm tough. I got this, you know. There's a couple of reels out there on Instagram. You've probably seen it where it says, like, when you ask a guy, like, hey, are you okay? Then, yeah, I'm all right. Most of the time, we're not all right. Most of the time, we've got such a heavy load on us, and we're struggling, and we're struggling in ways that you guys probably, ladies or partners or friends and whatever, family out there, probably have no idea. Like, we could probably put on a smile and be, yeah, I'm good, when you talk to us. Most of the time, I know for me, that's part of why I kind of lean on humor a lot more, or quite a bit. You know, why Dee and I kind of had that falling out in our friendship, because she's like, you're always laughing and joking, you're never serious. I'm like, well, because I'd rather laugh than cry. Like, I don't want to, like, if I'm not trying to find the humor in something, unless it's a really, really good day in general, there's probably something that's weighing me down, and if I don't try to, like, think about the positive, think about the, you know, try to make light of something, look at something, and try to laugh about something, try to find something funny online or whatever, I'm gonna be feeling and leaning in the other direction, where the smallest thing, watching a reel online talking about, like, you know, how like stuff like we're, you know, fathers, you know, doing everything they can and basically always, you know, getting back up, fighting for their kids, try to do whatever they can for them. You know, there's little things I'll read online, I'll just break down sobbing. You know, and thankfully I'm by myself in the truck, so it's like, you know, I'm good, but let me check the GPS here again to make sure I'm 19 miles till the switch off. Alright. So I've had it happen before where when I was going to Wichita and it didn't say anything to me in my earpiece or my headset. I happened to realize I saw the next Love's Travel Plaza on the Turnpike, and I went, I don't think I'm supposed to be down this far. And I brought up GPS, and of course it's like, oh yeah, go down here like 10 miles and turn around. I'm like, huh. So I got off on the plaza. Thankfully, you can get on the other direction from the plaza. So I was like, cool, all right. Went back. I had to go like 5 miles back, and I got off where I was supposed to get off it. But I've come into the kitchen, and the wife will come in there, and I'll be standing there at the counter. This is one time that stood out to me. It's happened a couple times, but it's at least one time that really is ingrained in my memory. Standing there by the counter, and I'm just like looking down, and you know, my eyes closed, and I'm like, my head, you know, or I might be leaning, like facing the counter or something, and I'm like, you know, kind of like laying on my, you know, my head and my hands on the counter. You know, when you like how you would on your school desks or whatever. When you like take a nap during class or whatever, or if you're sick, you know, fall asleep like that. She comes in the kitchen and she's like, you okay? At first, because I was like off in my own world, because of course I'm really stressed, overwhelmed by just life in general. I kind of do the whole kind of jerk, stand up, huh? What? She goes, are you okay? literally, and of course, there's a little pause there because anytime I think on that memory, I still get emotional about it because I can still remember how it felt. Hell, because there's still times where I feel it currently. Some days, it just depends on the day. It depends on how my day went, how long my work day out here on the road, how much sleep I'm able to get at home, if I'm resting enough, which most days I'm not. You know, but like, she'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I would standing there looking at her at the counter. I won't be able to answer her question. Like, I'll literally just kind of like look down for a second and kind of like choke back the tears a little bit. She'll repeat, she'll be like, are you okay? Next thing I know, I am doubled over, tears streaming down my face, and I'm just sobbing like the shudder sobs. The kind of cry where you can't breathe because you're crying so hard. By this point, you know, she's already like closed the distance between us in the kitchen. Suddenly we're in a hug, and I'm crying sloppily into her shoulder, and of course mid sob, like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. She's like, you're stressed. I'm like, oh yeah. You know, doing the snort because you're crying so hard. You know, like, even those of us guys out here, man, you know, if you're a lot of you, I'm sure, can relate, where you try to be the tough one, you put on a smile, you try to act like everything's good, but deep down, you know, especially if, like, you have incidents, like I just described, where you go to the store, trying to tell the fan, like your wife, especially if you're just going with your partner, and you're like, hey, we're only going for this, like, let's try to keep it that, and of course, they just, you know, go to town, like, hey, we're gonna get this and that. When we moved up here to Green Valley, it's like, you know, we went to Target. I wasn't working yet. Like, I had scheduled for me to start working here, but I hadn't started yet. She was applying for jobs. You know, we didn't have our stuff yet because the movers had it for like 4 months while we were fighting with them. So we were having to like furnish the house, and get stuff for the house, you know, like, so we went to Target I was like, hey, we need towels. Let's go to Target for towels. A trip to Target for towels turned into fucking $500, like a $500 trip, because like, we get the towels, and all of a sudden it's, well, we need these, and we need this, and we need that, and I'm going, she's like, well, love, like, we need these. I'm like, I understand that, but like, we have limited funds, like, yeah, we have money in the bank, we're not hurting for cash at the moment, but if we make these big ass purchases, we're gonna deplete that really fast, and it's gonna be like, well, we can't do, like, how are we gonna do such and such because we don't have any money? He's like, well, if we wouldn't spend $500 in a fucking, you know, trip to get towels, then maybe we wouldn't be in the current position. But those of you out there, like, you know, Dave Ramsey, they have a thing where, you know, like Financial Peace University. I've never done it, but I've heard good things about it. But I've actually heard some podcasts or some talks or whatever where he says, like, free spirit and nerds when it comes to finances. Between my wife and I'm the nerd. I'm the one that says, like, hey, we need to pay this bill, pay that bill. I want to hold back this much to try to save, you know, try to plan for the future. My wife's like, she gets her check and it's like, hey, we need this, we need that. You know, the house needs this, the cats need this, the girls need this, whatever. And before long, her check is tapped and she's like, well, I'm broke. I'm like, well, maybe if you don't spend it like instantly when you get your check. I know that's stuff that technically we quote unquote need, but it's stuff that we don't need right this second. Like, we could have probably waited. Plus, I've been trying to approach stuff lately with not saying I'm broke. Not to say things like I'm broke or I can't afford that. I'm trying to say, like, I don't have the money for that right now, or it's not in the budget at the moment, but I'm working, you know. Just like there's something else that, as far as like speaking positive, I heard something on a YouTube video that basically said, when it's something that you want to do, that you want to take care of, task or a goal or something, but you're like, instead of saying I can't do that, say I'll figure it out. Like, I'm gonna figure this out. Might not have any idea how you're gonna figure it out, but you know, so for the most part, I try to approach things that way. You know, like, you know, with getting our stuff delivered from the movers for months, my wife and my kids are like, we're never gonna get our stuff back. I was always like, well, like, I don't believe that. Like I'm telling you guys right now, I believe, like, I'm determined. We're gonna get our stuff delivered. I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. It's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't know when. I don't know how much it's gonna cost us. I don't know how we're gonna even get the money together to cover it. But somehow we're gonna get our stuff back. It's gonna happen, and it happened. And you know, when I got my truck here in Missouri, it's like, and I realized the whole sales tax thing, that you got to pay sales tax at the DMV and not at the dealer. Didn't know that until we bought the truck. So my stuff was expired for a little bit, and I was basically like, same thing. Like, I wasn't saying I don't know, or I can't do this, I can't afford this, blah blah blah. So I was saying things like, I will figure this out. Like, it's gonna happen. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know what we're gonna do, but it is gonna happen. But the experience of having those very rare, very random, uncontrolled sobs, either by yourself or with your partner or whatever. I mean, if it's with your partner and they, you know, sometimes that could be a good thing, I guess. Or even around your kids or, you know, your friends or whatever. If, like, you randomly just lose control and you just break down, all of a sudden the people around you, maybe if they kind of told themselves, oh yeah, everything's good, Dad's got it, you know, or, you know, Jeff has it, or like, you know, if it's a friend or whatever, oh yeah, they're good, they seem to always have it together. Then all of a sudden, you just randomly you break down. They're like, oh wow, okay, he's clearly struggling more than I thought he was. I didn't realize that he was, you know, because a lot of us, when we're trying to hold the weight of the world on our shoulders and take care of things ourselves, a lot of times, you know, it's also those same people that end up to go with, like, the mental health stuff. You know, people that try to hold the world around them together and always try to put on a happy face and try to act like they have it all together. We're also the same ones that would end up going through stuff, or like you lose somebody all of a sudden because they made the decision they couldn't handle it anymore. And I'm not saying that, you know, that's where I'm at or that's where you're at if you're listening to this. I'm just saying that in general, there's, you know, there's that. It's like Robin Williams, one of my favorite actors. You know, it's like one of the saddest things. You know, it's like he was basically making everyone else laugh around him to try to cheer everybody up. But, and yet he was, you know, dealing with a lot of stuff inside and nobody knew. I mean, well, some people probably knew, but from what I remember, it sounded like it came as a surprise to those closest to him that, like, you know, they knew he had some struggles or whatever, but those of us that aren't, like, famous actors or whatever, same thing, you know. We try to hold the weight of the world. We try to deal with everything. We, you know, to hold everything up, to keep everything together, to try to make those around us happy, make the spouses happy, make the kids happy. You know, and I know for me, it's like I know my kids do see everything I do, but there are times when I definitely wish that that I felt appreciated a little bit more by them, because it's like, it's that with the wife and the kids, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate. It's that feeling of expectation, like, oh, Dad's got it. Like, oh, hell, he'll take care of it. I was like, okay, and so like sometimes I'll voice try to speak out, like, hey guys, like I'm not the one that contributes to the sink being overflowing a lot of times, because of the fact that I'm literally home for 10 hours or less, and then back at work, and I had the one day off. So like, Sunday night I mostly cleared the kitchen up, did like one load of the dishwasher before dinner, and then after dinner, because also we had Salex's birthday this week, so there was some, like, the birthday cake stuff, like the cake pans and stuff like that. So there was still, my wife works, so like her schedule's pretty hectic too. But there was the stuff from dinner that night, the stuff from the birthday, and so I did what I could. I ran one load, ate dinner, and then I ran another load, and then I had stuff that was stuck on it. That I'm a big fan of soaking. Like I don't really want to scrub. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and like manually scrub on this thing for like 10 minutes because it's caked on there. That's why I'm always telling the kids, because they're really big on, guys. I'm sure you guys can relate out there. Like, my kids are really big on like putting just heating up food on a plate and then or in a bowl or whatever. And it might be food that's like, if you don't rinse it out, it'll dry up and kind of get stuck on there. So like they're real big on like eating food, and then just like, especially my oldest will put those plates or bowls, just set them on the counter. Sometimes there'll be food still on the plate, like in the bowl, whatever, or chicken nuggets or something. They won't even dump them out or whatever. Just be up. All right. And I realized like someday you guys are gonna have to do this yourself, and your house is just gonna be a fucking mess, because like you're gonna just, well, I'll just clean it later. There'll be like 100 dishes that'll just be on the counter. I'm like, man, I don't want to clean the kitchen because it's a disaster. Yeah, it's a disaster because you just put stuff in there and don't even clear it out. So I try to be outspoken with my fam. So it's like I did the one load, and I did the second load. Put away the first load that was in the dishwasher, and then I had the second load going, and I washed pots and pans and whatever, and dishes and whatnot. That was like really easy. Stuff caked on it, I was filling the second side, the left side of the sink, just letting stuff soak. Figured, and then of course, like, so I had the kitchen mostly clear, but like the counter and the stove, obviously it needed to be wiped off, and the stuff that was soaking would need to get, cleaned. So I kind of did a group chat message. I was like, hey guys, did what I could, put away the first round of dishes in the dishwasher, got the dishwasher loaded again, got it running, got stuff soaking, got pots and pans and stuff that obviously wasn't going to put in the dishwasher, got that stuff, cleaned. I was like, obviously the other dishes need to be done, and stuff needs to be wiped, like counters and stove needs to be wiped down, but it looks a lot better than it did, so if you guys could try to take care of that, that'd be awesome. My wife messaged before she went to bed, she's like, so, because we call them the Chaos Twins, or my wife does. It's, her, technically her oldest kid that she put up for adoption when she was 18, but then we've reconnected way back when we were in Nashville. So like, she actually lives up this way. So, they would come over and hang out with my oldest, which is her full blood sister. But they'd be hanging out. Technically half siblings with my youngest. But her, like, the two of them would be hanging out downstairs, and I guess she's like, so the Chaos Twins made soup. I took my pain meds. I'm on my way to bed. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, so I'm guessing the kitchen is probably more of a disastrous state, right? And she's, well, I did mention the dishes with the ... afterwards. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I guess we'll see. But basically, it's like, well, when they tell me, oh, there's such and such food, like, they just leave it out for me when I get home. I'm like, I'm not gonna be home till like 7 or 8. So I was like, you guys could just container it and put it in the fridge, and I'll just, like, I'll just heat up something. I'll figure something out, but you don't have to leave it out all night for me or whatever. But I didn't say that. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess we'll see what the kitchen is like or whatever. But try to be that role model for the kids. Like, hey guys, like, there's the only times that I've gotten them to step up and take a little bit of action is when I literally went off on everybody in the chat. Like, guys, like, quit putting fucking food, like plates and bowls on the counter and letting it just sit there. Like, rinse it the fuck off. Maybe unload the dishwasher, start putting stuff in there. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't be all on me or all on mom to clean. Like, especially up until recently, it's like my oldest didn't have a job, so it's like, I'm like, Allie, I understand, like, you're tired, you want to be in bed all the time, but can you please get the fuck up? Maybe clean a little bit. Like, don't just clean downstairs when your boyfriend's gonna come up and stay with us for a week. But actually, like, try to help clean around the house to kind of make it because I mean, for me, the overwhelming part. Here we go, getting off on our from this highway onto the next highway to work my way towards I-29 south towards Kansas City. 30 east, 77 south, 275 east towards Omaha, Lincoln. So for my up in Nebraska is where I graduated, over in good old Holdridge. So any of my Holdridge or former Holdridge peeps, because I know a lot of us no longer live up that way. If any of you guys end up on this podcast, a little shout out to you guys. Appreciate you being on here and stuff. Feel free to reach out to me on Messenger. I'd love to catch up and chat with you and stuff. Otherwise, just out here alone doing what I do. But try to teach the kids, like, at some point you guys are gonna have your own place, and me and mom at some point might not be around, and you're gonna have to take care of your own shit. So it's like, I'm willing to do everything I can, but there's no, hey Dad, we really appreciate you, thank you so much for everything you do. I've had my youngest actually made a comment at one point. I think we were taking my oldest to an interview, dropping her off. Pretty sure it was an interview. Dropping her off somewhere, or going to take her to an interview, and then wait for her to come out, and then we're gonna go back home or whatever. And I just picked my youngest up at school, and we were on our way down there to the interview. And we were talking finances or something. I don't remember what it was about, but my youngest made a comment about, like, savings. Hey, well, Dad, I'm obviously, like, I know you try to teach us, about, like, not spending everything we make and put money in savings, and trying to make some good financial choices. I literally kind of teared up. I was like, well, I try my best. I was like, it means a lot that the fact that you said that, because that tells me that, hey, like, she's actually listening when I try to the voice of wisdom, but I don't want to, like, force anything on her. So it's like, I'll recommend or try to encourage, and it's up to the kids. We can only guide them so much. Like, you can try to guide them, and they, like, my parents, I look back and I go, I really wish I listened to my parents a lot more. Because because, like, Mom and Dad, if you ever listen to this and end up on this podcast, I just want you to know, as your kid, that I apologize for being such an asshole. For being such a dumbass. Because I know, especially with my ex, you know, choices I made in my relationship and stuff, I don't regret being with my wife. And for the most part, I'd say I don't regret being with my ex, but being that it was like I was with her for 5 years and we ended up divorced. You know, when we both went into that marriage, into that relationship, telling each other we didn't believe in divorce, that, you know, no matter what, we were gonna, especially my ex, like, you know, she would always say that I don't believe in divorce, like even if you cheat on me or something, like, we're gonna go to counseling, we're gonna work it out, like, you don't get away from me, like, you're stuck with me. And I'm like, okay, you know. But then when it came down to it, all of a sudden she's like, I want a divorce. I was like, wait a minute. But what about not believing in divorce? Well, I don't believe in divorce unless there's abuse. Like, what abuse? What are you talking about? Well, I believe you're emotionally abusive. What? Funny thing about that is I actually looked up, because I was like, wait a minute, hold on, I'm curious. I looked up, like the definition, you know, and like, apologies, got GPS in my ear again. But it's like, I looked up the actual, like, definition. It's like, what is emotional abuse? And literally it had, like, all the different, like, quote unquote symptoms or indicators of emotional abuse, you know. And it was stuff like, I love when it's like, you've only got 2 lanes and literally they're both straight, and it says keep left to stay on such and such. I'm like, there's no keep right or keep left. Like, these 2 lanes are just going straight. That's like, okay. But I looked up the indicators for that, and it's like, you know, like withholding affection, like, I'm very big on my faith, and so my ex a lot of times would randomly, like, you know, be like, well, what do you think? Especially, like, when wanting, like, say, like, private time with, or like intimate time with my ex, or with her, I guess, she wasn't my ex yet, you know. But be like wanting to actually spend some time with her or whatever, and she'd make comments like, well, what do you think Jesus would think about that? I'm like, well, we're married, so I'm pretty sure Jesus would be fine with it. But, like, little things like that I looked up, and it's like, you know, what does emotional abuse mean, or indicators of it? And I was like, a lot of stuff pointed to things that she actually did to me. And I was like, well, if anything, based on what I'm reading, like, you're the emotionally abusive one. Like, withholding your affection, I don't want to, like, I was all, like, towards the end, I was literally trying to, like, do whatever I could to try to, like, work on the relationship. And I'm talking, like, you know, we'd be hanging out with friends and doing, like, World of Warcraft, and, like, I would go home after work or whatever, because it was basically, you know, we were at this office that we worked at, we had to use our own computers there, because it was like a makeshift call center at a former dental place or whatever. Our schedules overlapped a little bit, but not much. I would get off work and I would go over to the other side of the call center, basically, you know, lean in to give her a kiss goodbye, whatever, be like, hey, you know, so see you when you get home. She goes, yep, see you when you get home. And I'd go home and I would do things like try to make like a dinner, like full-on dinner, like from scratch. And, you know, have some wine, get like flowers, candles, you know, try to make an actual, like, date dinner. Like, hey, I got something special planned. You know, I'll see you in a couple hours when you get home. She goes, okay. Make dinner. She would not come home. I would literally make dinner and have everything set up about the time that usually she would normally be home. But all of a sudden I'm sitting there for a little bit, and I'm kind of texting her like, "Are you coming home?" And she's like, "Well, no, I might be home in a little while, but I'm just up here with so and so. We're playing World of Warcraft, we're chatting, whatever." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I have food." She's okay. Well, I'll just eat when I get home. I'm like, okay. So I would eat and drink little glasses of wine. I'd do clean everything up, and basically I'd go to bed. And then the part where when it finally broke down, or I say the straw that broke the back was, I guess there's so the big straw that broke the back was we had planned for a year to go see my brother get married. And then literally the day before, getting ready to go, and all of a sudden she comes to me sobbing, saying she doesn't want to go. My family hates her. I don't want to go. I'm like, so what? You want me to go by myself? To travel all the way out to Seattle, whatever, by myself, just to go see them get married? Like, you don't want to come with me? And she said, no. All right, I want to go. I want to be with you. We're supposed to do this together. I was like, okay, whatever. So I went, like a 400-mile trip there, stayed the weekend. So I think I drove up there on like a Thursday or something, like a Wednesday or Thursday, and then got to stay with them, and for like 2 days or whatever, saw the wedding. And then basically at that point was kind of like, I have to change my life, like things aren't working out, not happy, whatever. Talking to my family about like the military and stuff like that. That's when I was contemplating the idea of enlisting and trying to, because I was like, I didn't want to go in the service, but I was like, yeah, but obviously like it might be good. So went through that whole weekend and made my way home. And I get home after going on the trip that we're supposed to go together, and basically I find out that when I get home, nobody's home. So I'm texting my wife, going, "Hey, like, where's everybody?" "Oh, yeah, me and a couple friends, we went on a camping trip for the weekend. We left on Friday. We'll be back tomorrow night." I'm like, "So wait a minute. Like, you didn't want to go with me to a thing that was planned for a year that, to see somebody in my family get married, but as soon as I'm gone, you go on a trip with your friends or whatever." It's like, okay. Yeah, I'm done. So I basically was like, all right. So I still had, I think it was like 24, maybe 48 hours before they're gonna get home. And I got on the phone with my dad. Basically was like, hey, I need to make a change. Like, this isn't working out here, but I feel stuck. Like, I want to join the Air Force. I want to get my life on track, but I feel like I'm stuck out here. I don't have any options. And my dad was like, I will overnight you a gas card. And then I'll send, with the gas card, I'm going to send you printed directions from where you are to here. If you're willing to come here, move in with us for a couple months, start getting in shape, talk to a recruiter and stuff like that. I said, yeah, that sounds great. And he was, but would you do it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, if you help me get over to you guys, I will start working out, getting in shape, and I will talk to a recruiter, and we'll start making things happen. So by the time my wife got home, I'd already received the gas card and the directions. So I basically was like already packing stuff up for me that would fit in my truck, because I had a regular cab Dodge Ram at that point. And she got home, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm gonna go join the Air Force. I'm gonna move in with my parents. I'm gonna join the Air Force. She's like, no, you're not. Like, you're not joining the military. I'm like, watch me. I was like, love, like, this isn't working. Like we need, like, something needs to change. Because you and I have not been good for a little bit. I feel like I've been trying, and you've been kind of ignoring me and blowing me off. And so something needs to happen. Like, I wasn't saying divorce. I was literally just saying, like, obviously I'm gonna go out there, try to get into something stable. We can get base housing. We can literally try to work on ourselves, whatever. She goes, oh, okay. I mean, we had a good last night for the morning that I took off, but then like literally when I got like within the next 2 days, because it was probably about a 1,300 mile, 1,000 to 1,500 mile drive from northern Montana to Iowa. Maybe further actually. I've been 2,000 miles. But my dad had kind of sent me directions that had those specific gas stops along that route, so I was able to pull off at those gas stops, use that gas card to gas up my truck, and not have to worry about it. And he paid for a hotel about halfway through. So it was like, I think I went like, might have done 2 hotels, I don't remember, but there was at least one hotel stop along the way. He's like, I would have paid for such and such, like this far along, and you know, stop at this place, and then stop at this place, and I've got it covered, you know, and then just make your way here. I'm like, okay, like, thank you, Dad, I really appreciate it. You know, he's like, just get here, and we can figure things out. I'm like, okay, but I got all the way to Iowa, and like a couple of days, you know, at my parents' house in Iowa, which they're down in Oklahoma, like down there in Oklahoma. But I was there at my parents' house for a couple of days, and then my pulls a fast one on me. You know, me thinking I'm not getting divorced. I'm just, you know, trying to get her life, like I want to be a provider for my family, blah blah blah. I want to get things in order, and you know, she messaged me asking, because we were working on an online like virtual pet site. It was like a dream of ours for years that we technically had a site, but we just had forums for like people to chat on, and we had moderators on those forums, and we had like artists already that were submitting artwork, and we had things planned. We just needed a programmer and stuff like that. But I had full control of the actual like hosting and stuff. She randomly, hey, what's the password? What's the admin password for the pet site hosting? Me not thinking anything of it, I was like, yeah, of course, it's such. Cool, thanks. A couple hours later, I went to try to log on, and I couldn't log on. Like, literally, I was completely banned. Like, she had, you know, blocked me entirely from the stuff, so I couldn't even log on. I couldn't even like, I tried to go to the actual site, and it would, like, you try to log in, and it said, sorry, you're blocked, or you're banned, or whatever. Like, your account's been suspended, or whatever. And I was like, what? So then I messaged her going, what, like, Lori, like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? She goes, oh yeah, well, I figured, you know, can't trust you, you know, like, you're, you know, I want a divorce. And I was like, what are you talking about? The whole emotional abusive stuff, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, shit, you know, so. Sorry to go on the random story with you guys, you know, this episode is definitely a lot longer than I anticipated, but I figured, hopefully, you know, a lot of you out there can kind of relate to some of the stuff that I've been through or whatever. It's kind of why why I call it Real Talk Tuesday, and, you know, and have random topics, you know, because a lot of us have been through stuff that have quite literally broken us, have, you know, made it where we're just like, well, shit, like, why do I even bother trying? Like, why do I, like, I don't even know why I keep going, blah, 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 you know, it's like, you know, especially with some of the things that we've dealt with in life. That's why when I was mentioning the topic at the beginning, I was like, have you felt like this? Like, you have trouble moving forward because of how your current life circumstances, you know, how things are going with you in life. Keep moving forward. There's a reason why that's a big thing. Keep moving forward, keep pushing forward, keep getting back up. Never quit trying. And as long as you keep, you know, no matter how many times you get knocked down, if you keep getting back up and taking that next step. Keep trying. You try something else. If you're trying to achieve something, trying to get to a certain point in life, trying to, like, for me, get out of the job, retire myself, have the time freedom, have the financial freedom, and have the time with my family, and not with the time freedom. Part of what I'm looking forward to that is there's things I want to do to get a lot better health. Right now, I'm kind of limited on what I can do because I just don't have the time. Like, get home, not even have the full 10 hours off. And so it's not like I can get home and be like, hey, I'm going to take half an hour and work out. Because I get home and go, hey, I can barely even think, hey, I'm going to jump in the shower. Because when you're overwhelmed, you know, with everything going on, you get in that shower and it's nice and hot. It just feels so fucking good. Very rarely can I, you know, I tell myself it's going to be a quick shower. But you get in there and it feels so good. You're stressed out, overwhelmed, and like you're just like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, and you're in there just under that hot water, and you just lean against the wall. Your eyes are closed, and it's like, it feels good. You know, you're kind of de-stressing a little bit, and you're thinking, I need to I need to go ahead and do what I got to do in here, and actually get out and get to bed, because I also need enough sleep. But you know. So keep pushing forward, keep doing what you gotta do, hold on to those goals, hold on to those dreams. Like if your dream is to work as a trucker out over the road for, you know, until you're 70, 65, 70, and then, you know, then do the official retirement, go for it. You know, if that's what you want to do, then do it. If your dream is to you know, open a brick and mortar business and, you know, do that full time and, you know, have that be your day job, you know, do it. Figure out how to make it happen. You know, put money aside for the down payment you need, or work on your credit so you can get a business funding, or just keep taking steps every day to make that goal a reality. Like, for instance, my wife, her dream is a food truck, but her being the free spirit financially and stuff, it's like the way I look at it right now, and I hope she proves me wrong, but sadly, the way I look at it right now, it would be having to take care of everything. It feels like it's like I would have to literally get. Like, I would probably have to be the one to get, you know, figure out how to get her food truck. So the way I look at it, I'm like, well, I am working on trying to figure that out for her, but I'm kind of working on myself first, because it's like, I am no good to them if I have no time to do anything at all. So it's like, if I can free up time for myself, you know, and make things better financially and stuff, I'll be more in a position to where I can make stuff happen for them, you know. So that's where I say, you know, appreciation goes a long way, because like a lot of us are weighed down by so much. A lot of us are trying really hard to get there, and there's a lot of us that give up. And that's on the best case scenario. The ones that just give up and assume I'm just gonna work for the next 30 years. It's fine. On the worst case scenario are the ones that not only give up because they figure it's never gonna happen, you know, they just can't do it, but they also feel like, well, what's the point? Like they expect it. You know, they know I'm gonna take care of everything, so they just you know, take full advantage. So just know, guys, gals, whatever. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like the weight of the world is crushing you at times, happens to me all the time. You're not alone. In fact, feel free to message me. BloggerShowPodcast@gmail.com, and you know, I'll message back. But on that note, I think I'll go ahead and bring this episode to a close. Again, I apologize about it being so long. Hopefully a lot of you out there listening to this episode can relate. You know, like, I know that for me, and I know that this is common. That's why I figured I wanted to talk about this tonight. Because when we feel like that, I know for me, like I felt like I'm alone. Like I don't like this. I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how I don't know what how I'm gonna make this happen. I don't know if things are ever gonna get better at home. Because it's like little things, even just little stuff, like with my wife, like the one occasion I told you about where she randomly walked over. Like, I am so weak when it comes to when she actually comes over and just simply gives me a hug. She realizes I'm struggling. She gives me a hug, I just start bawling, and then I'm like, fuck, because I don't want to cry, not around other people. Like I'll watch a reel on Instagram or TikTok or something, and it'll hit me in the heart a little bit, and all of a sudden I'm sitting at a truck stop or something at a fuel, or taking a 30 or something, and I'll be watching on my phone and sitting in the driver's seat. All of a sudden I'm like wiping. I'm like, all right, come on, get it together. Wiping tears or whatever. It's like, come on, man, get it together. So. It's tough, but if you felt that way or whatever, just know that you're not alone. There's others, especially those of us drivers out here. There's so many things that I've seen. They're like the pictures of like truckers eating alone at diners or whatever on holidays. It's like oh, in order for things to keep moving, truckers have to have because things keep moving because truckers get things delivered. That's how shelves stay stocked. But a lot of us can't end up getting home to our families on the holidays, so we end up eating Thanksgiving dinner at a truck stop. And I'm like, I've been there, and or just basically having to be out on the road while my family went on vacation. Like they would come out here to Kansas to see the family when we lived in Nashville, and I was like, well, shit, I can't afford to take time off. So I guess I'm just gonna keep running. So I would be out here working for the week while they're, on vacation, staying in a hotel, visiting her mom, and going to the lake and posting pictures, sending me pictures. I'm like, that's great. That's awesome. That's all the while you're kind of like got that dagger in the heart, and when you've been doing it a long time, people that might have a little bit easier schedule. Maybe they're home a lot more. Maybe they work an 8-hour day. So they get to go home and sit on the couch and scroll through TikTok videos the rest of the day and watch YouTube on the TV or whatever. And spend the next like however many hours of the day just kind of like, I'm gonna watch this show and I'm gonna watch this reel or these 50 or 60 reels on social media, and I'm gonna send a lot of videos to my spouse or my friends or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have that. A lot of us, like truckers, we don't have that free time to just sit around and kill time and do that. Like we don't. Like literally, it's like I said, it's like I have 10 hours off before I get time back. I'll get home and I might have maybe 7 before I have to get up and basically get ready to head back into the Kansas City hub to then pick up the truck to head to the Lenexa hub. So it makes for and I do that 6 days a week. So it makes for a very, very long, very stressful, very overwhelming week. But I'm doing it because compared to what I was doing before with the Kansas City hub, I'm on a dedicated. It's like the money is a lot better. And I'm like, well, with the extra income, I can pay off stuff faster. I can be working on trying to get the side income like off the ground, so I can actually like make the goals a reality instead of just, hey, I'm paying bills and I'm broke. Again, try not to say I'm broke, but so little advice for closing this episode out. Few little tips. Try not to say things like I'm broke, can't afford that. There's certain tasks that you're hoping to accomplish. Don't say, I can't do that. Say, I'll figure it out. Even if you have no idea how to figure it out, you have no idea what you're going to do to make it happen, just say that to yourself. I'll figure it out. I'm going to do it. So, you know. But, on that note, sorry to talk you guys' ear off, but I hope I gave you some good value in this episode tonight. For anybody who wants to support the show, who's in a position to, obviously, you have to, and it's not required. So thank you in advance to anybody who does, but anybody who's in a position and wants to financially support the show with any kind of donation that helps with like hosting cost or, you know, memberships for like the recording software, for instance, go to lodgeshow.com/support. Again, appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. But if you want to support the show in a different way, at the very least, like and follow, tell your friends on whatever platform you're listening to this on. If you'd be willing to do a review, like 5 stars. Reviews help as well, and following and liking or whatever, little stuff like that. But I'm gonna be always trying to grow this podcast, trying to do bigger and better things, and at some point obviously we'll have a lot of other stuff as a part of the show as well, as far as like the volumes that'll get published and the merch that I'm planning to do. And get like Storytime Friday will be a regular thing at some point. I'll be back every Friday. Hopefully we'll be getting consistent weekly recordings for like the Keeping It Real segment with Rico and Barry, and the regular recordings with Dave and his trucker friends for the Raw Chat. But at the very least, I'll do these Real Talk Tuesday regular episodes, and eventually have the Storytime Friday episode. So, on that note, I appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with me tonight. Sorry it was so long. Hopefully, if you're driving somewhere, hopefully at least made your drive a little less boring. Hopefully, you guys can, a lot of you can relate to stuff I was talking about. Like, we're not alone, guys. I mean, yeah, we might be alone physically quite a bit, but you're not alone when it comes to if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're struggling with your mental health, you feel like you can't push forward because of, you don't know what to like what you can do to make it happen. Just keep doing it. Just keep moving forward. Keep taking it day by day. I literally, for me, it's a week by week thing. I take it day by day, week by week. Enjoy my day off. Do what I can to relax as much as possible. Come back at it Monday. I'm like, all right, here we go again. But just do what you gotta do. Just keep pushing forward. Keep doing it. Find anything that helps you to let loose, unwind, feel better. Whether it's an activity or it's like, hey, have a drink or two on your day off or whatever to just kind of unwind. Obviously, I would recommend getting like trashed and shit-faced or whatever. But try to find a couple things that, either go out and bike or go bowling or go to the movie on your day off or something. Just find something and make it a routine. And do that whenever you're off. And maybe write in a journal and do something. Talk to somebody each week. Make a regular routine that'll help you for whenever you get ready to go back and jump back into your work routine again. And just keep on going. I know that here at the Blodgett Show, I got your back too. So like I said, feel free to reach out. blodgettshowpodcast@gmail.com. Or hell, you can even reach out to my buddy Dave on the Raw Chat email. I I believe is rawchatpod@gmail.com. Maybe if you have anything you want us to talk, like topics you want to know, like those of us truckers that jump on that call, hey, like, hey, can you talk about such and such? Sure, right now. Or maybe throw in there like, hey, like you guys really need to be getting these calls like every week, because I really like listening to you guys. I hate when there's a week that you guys don't talk. And I'll be like, well, I mean, because like I'm always here, I'm always out here doing it. There's been there's a week or two here or there where I don't hear from him, whatever, which is fine. You know, it's like not a big deal. Let's see, just making sure I'm not getting. Don't want to get lost, obviously. So yeah, 680 south to 80. So, but on that note, guys, keep pushing forward. Keep believing. Do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. Get into a routine of some kind for each week that'll help you, like, let loose, unwind, and kind of mentally unload and deal with stuff for the week and prepare for the next week. Show, especially for spouses or whatever, if you're a spouse of somebody that works their ass off to try to provide for you and the fam, you know, maybe like, you know, just tell them you appreciate them. You know, give them a hug, ask them if they're okay. Maybe, you know, just show that you're there. A lot of us need it. We're not gonna say we need it, but a lot of us need it. And just know that we all got this, guys. We are not broke. We are not losers. We are not, we don't deserve to be alone and be unhappy or whatever. Like, we deserve the very best. So I'll just keep pushing forward, do what you gotta do. And, you know, take time out, you know, take time off if you need it. Take that vacation. Go see family, go take a week off. Go to the pool, go for a bike ride. Get on random conversations with friends. Talk about random stuff or vent to people about what's going on with you, whatever. If you're religious, pray, you know, like, just put it out there, you know, and everything will work out in the end. Like, we're gonna get where we want to go. We're gonna achieve the things that we're pushing forward towards. So on that note, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I look forward to talking to you guys every week. And I hope you guys have a blessed and happy and safe, productive, and hopefully a lot less stressed rest of your week. And I look forward to you guys hanging out with me next week. Whether it's on the Real Talk Tuesday Keep It a Real segment, or whether it's on a Real Talk Tuesday regular episode like this, or, you know, whether it's on the Raw Chat with my fellow truckers. I look forward to hanging out with you every week. So thank you again for hanging out with me. Thank you again for being here. Thank you again for just, you know, doing what we do every day. Going out and doing what you can to be a badass at home and stuff. And I will talk to you on the next episode. You guys have a good one, and I'll talk